Hello, so my name is Teacher Zoe, and I'm here today to talk to you about the wonderful topic of simple and perfect tenses. And when do we use these simple and perfect tenses? I love tenses, don't you? I could talk about them all day, and I hear this rumble of horror around the whole world. Why? Why do people not like tenses? Why do people think they're so confusing? I think it's just because we're not always explained in the right way. When you think of them as just a big list of rules, sometimes you did this and sometimes you do that, it's very off-putting, isn't it? But if you think about them a little bit differently, then hopefully they'll make a little bit more sense. So what are tenses? All tenses are a way of saying when actions happened. That's it. When do actions happen? It's kind of a way of representing that. And the simple tenses do just that. When do they happen? In the past, now, in the future. But the perfect tenses give us more information again. They can also tell us when the actions happened, but they give us extra information as well. They kind of show us relationships. They show us how previous actions affect later events or times. So again, in words, it all sounds a bit confusing, doesn't it? So why don't we have a look at it in a way that'll hopefully make it a little bit clearer? Tenses are all about when. They're all about times. So the easiest way to see them, to think about them, to remember them, to understand them is to look at them on a timeline. And what is a timeline? A timeline is a line that represents time. It goes from the past, it goes through now, and then it carries on into the future. So if we have a look at this here, we have an action that I like very much, eating ice cream. Only I'm going to put this in the past. I'm going to say, talk about last year, for example. I ate ice cream. If I'm not still eating it now, the action started, it finished, it was all there in the past. And because of that, we can draw it here as a nice, neat little cross. It happened in the past. I ate ice cream. And if I want to move that action to a different time, I can put it forward to the future if I want to. Here, I can say, I will eat ice cream. And this is an action that has now whizzed forward in time into the future. But you can see it's represented in the same way. So what happens if we start to think about our perfect tenses and look at them like this, visually? Hopefully that'll give us a bit more information, a better way to understand them. So the simple perfect tenses are what we're going to talk about today, and they describe how previous actions relate to later times and events. It still sounds a bit confusing, doesn't it, when we see it in words like that? So let's look at it as an image again and see if this makes it a bit clearer. So here we've got an example sentence in the present perfect. We say, I have eaten. I have eaten. And when we look at it, look, it's back here in the past. So why have we bothered to say I have eaten when we could just have said something much more easy like I ate earlier? Because it's not the same. That's the simple past. I ate earlier, gets the action, puts it in the past, it started, it finished, that's it, over and done with. But when we talk in the perfect tense, we're giving more information. So we have this action in the past the same, but we're describing it as I have eaten. And by saying that, we are showing that it's relevant to another time and event. And because it's the present perfect, we know that the relevant time or event is now in the present. So what does that mean? Well, we could use it in a situation like this, for example. Maybe I'm stood there talking to somebody and they say, would you like some lunch? They're asking me it now, so that's why it's the present perfect. I answer, no, it's okay. I have eaten. So I'm describing a previous event that I ate earlier. Here, look, we got this yellow action on the left here, but it's not just a standalone event. I'm using it as an explanation to explain why I'm not hungry. I'm showing why it has relevance to now, to this event that's happening now, when I'm being asked if I'd like my lunch. We can also move this whole group back into the past again. The past perfect tense is this exact same structure. It looks identical, but the whole thing's been moved back to the past. And because it's the past perfect, we know that this event, the relevant event, is also going to be in the past. So what could be an example of this? We've got a very similar situation. We could have a sentence like, I had already eaten when my mother asked me if I would like lunch. So I had already eaten. Here's this action in the past when my mother asked me if I wanted some lunch. Here we've got the event that's also in the past, but after the previous action. Yeah. So we're still explaining why I was not hungry, but both of the events have been moved back in time. Again, we have this relationship, and that's what the past perfect, or what the perfect tenses are all about, showing relationships. We can do the same if we push it forward into the future. Here, look, we have the future perfect. We could say, I will have eaten before I meet you. So we've got the previous action, eating, which is in the future. I will have eaten. It's not happened yet. It's still in the future, but I will have eaten before I meet you. The I meet you bit, this event of meeting, is after the action. So it's the same format. When we look at it like this, the picture is the same. The format is the same. The order of the action and event is the same. And that is what this perfect tense is representing. So how do we choose when we're trying to make a sentence which one of these we have to use? Well, we have to think about it a little bit. We have to think about our actions and think about, well, is it just an action? Is the action completed? And is it relevant to anything else? When did the action happen? Are there any related times or events? Is it literally just a standalone thing that started and finished? Or are we talking about it because it has relevance to something else? And we also kind of need to think about the focus of the sentence. Because if we say, I have already eaten, the focus is kind of on now and the fact I'm not hungry, not on the previous meal that I'd already eaten. So we need to kind of think about all of these things. Let's look at some examples. So on this video here, look what's happening. The boy runs for the bus. It's the simple present tense. It's basic, it's easy, that's what he's doing. And it just focuses on the action, nothing else. We're describing what's happening. The boy runs for the bus. But we can say more, can't we? We could say something like, the boy has been delayed. So why would we say that? Because now we're in the present perfect tense and it relates the boy being delayed to explain why he's late for the bus. Why is the boy late for the bus? Oh, because he's been delayed. So we're giving it as an explanation that relates it to the later event of him being late for the bus. Shall we have a look at another one? Look at this fella. Isn't he wonderful? So he is a sea lion, although he's a lion on here. The sea lion yawned. Again, just the simple past tense. That's what he did. And it's focusing on the action, nothing else. Oh, a big yawn from the sea lion. Now, we're going to make a little bit of a more complicated sentence. The sea lion had stopped yawning to scratch. So now we're in the past perfect tense and we have an event, an action, the action of him stopping yawning, but we're relating it to a later event, scratching. He had stopped yawning to scratch. So we've got this action and then we're relating the two things together. Right, now a little warning. Often if you look at descriptions of the perfect tense in textbooks, they all talk about completed actions, but it's not actually true. what we need to think more is about the focus of the action. This is more kind of relevant when we get into the continuous perfect tenses, like I have been reading a book. Yeah, so we can say I am reading a book. And if I am reading a book, then it started in the past, it's ongoing at the minute, and it's going to carry on to an indeterminate time in the future. And I am in the middle of that process somewhere. But as soon as we change this into the perfect tense, I have been reading a book, the focus of the action is all shoved back in time a little bit. And the focus of the continuing action is before now. So this is often described as the action being completed, but it isn't, because it doesn't necessarily mean that it's stopped. We can have these examples here. I have been learning for 2 years. Yeah. So we're talking about the 2 years that go before now, but it doesn't have to mean that you finished learning. I had walked. We're going to go back in time now and have a past perfect continuous. I had been walking. Well, this is past perfect, not continuous. I had walked all day and I would continue through the night. So the fact you said you had walked all day makes you think like the whole action is before the time that they're talking about, which it is. But we have to be careful when they use these descriptions as completed, because they aren't necessarily. The actions can carry on. The best way to get your head around these is, one, always look at the diagrams when you're thinking about them, because that visual framework makes it so much easier. And two, practice with examples. Do lots and lots of examples and listen to English every day. I'm going to drill that into you every time I speak to you. The more you listen to natural English, the more these little rules will, as well as knowing the theory and knowing why you're doing it, you'll have this little superpower, this little niggle in the back of your head saying, that doesn't sound right. Do both. Learn the rules, but listen every day as well. Use your superpower for language learning that everybody has. Excellent. It was lovely to speak to you, and I shall hopefully see you another day soon. Take care. Bye-bye.